Part 42. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 411. Tao Ran is not afraid of Hongling. The sect had been tolerant before because Nianbai was dying. But after 600 years of life, the Qingyun sect is still the number one sect in the world. Who would look at her as a second-generation cultivator? So, it's not wrong for me to call you sister. But it's a bit disrespectful for you to call me master by name. Hongling couldn't laugh anymore. I really didn't expect that this little golden elixir monk would have sharp teeth and speak arrogant words. I hate myself, but I still don't know how to respond. For more than 300 years, she has always called Lu Yun's name, and Lu Yun himself did not object. She, as an apprentice, dared to teach him a lesson. When she met Yun 11 before, this girl had always been very well behaved and always called herself Fairy Aunt. How? A girl who has undergone 18 changes must be interested in her master, so she started to protect her food, right? She dared to think. The red rhombus is very sour. She always felt that Lu Yun was unusual for this great disciple. When I heard today that the entire Tianjian peak was now only occupied by the master and the apprentice, I couldn't help but think wrongly. Liu Yun, if you can't get something yourself, you will never give it to others. On the other side, Tao Ran was secretly scanning Lu Yun's face. He was also looking at it. His face was still cold, but his eyes were full of smiles. As for the headmaster, he didn't know what to say to Lu Rui at the moment. He seemed very busy and didn't look here at all. The attitude of the elders was clearly manipulating her. This greatly increased Tao Ran's confidence. My master is generous and never quarrels with the younger ones, but Sister Hongling should stop shouting in the future. It seems like she doesn't know etiquette and the sword sect didn't teach her well. Hey Yun 11, is this how your Qingyun sect treats guests? You still dare to slander my sect? Hongling blushed and slapped the table. She did like Liu Yun, but at this time, her sect's face was at stake, so how could she sit still? After all, I am a distinguished guest of your sect, and you just criticize me like this? Is this how your Qingyun sect teaches its disciples? Hongling was rushing towards Lu Yun and Nianbai, but they didn't say anything, but unexpectedly Yun 11 came up again. Sister, I'm just like this. I didn't speak well and didn't take your face into consideration. It's my fault. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. To show my respect, all your food, clothing, housing, and transportation for the next 100 days will be provided by I'll make the arrangements. In the past, I took care of Tianjian Peak, so don't worry, I will make you feel at home. Hongling originally wanted to use the topic to express herself, but she never expected that Yun 11 was so flexible. She was showing off her teeth just now, but in the blink of an eye she was groveling again. All these methods. What was even more hateful was when Hongling saw Nianbai waving to Liu Yun and whispered something like, "Let the juniors handle their own affairs, it's not appropriate for us to insert ourselves into it." Hongling was so angry that her blood almost boiled. Who is the junior? Who is the little girl? Does this make her and Yun 11 the same generation? What's even more hateful is that old man Nianbai also signaled to his fourth apprentice Lu Rui, "Your junior sister is both impatient and straightforward. Look, you've made all the distinguished guests anxious. As a senior brother of your generation, why don't you go and persuade her?" The old man looked at Yun 11 more and more fondly. He is the leader and it is not convenient for him to come forward for many things. But by doing this, Yun 11 simplified the matter and solved the big problem for her master. The sect was relaxed, and her master was even more relieved. Lu Rui took the order. He sees it really and naturally knows how to persuade. Sister Hongling, if you don't want to see my junior sister, you don't have to live in Tianjian Peak. How about staying in Guest Peak? I'll be as comfortable keeping you here as I am in Sword Sect. Another sister. Another person called Sister appeared. Lu Rui? Who is he? Isn't it a little golden elixir again? So, choose one? Either live in Tianjian Peak and become sisters with Yun 11, or live in Guest Peak and become ordinary guests. Hongling laughed angrily. She looked at this group of people with cold eyes, even the wine cup in front of her was frozen. And Lu Rui is not afraid of her. It just so happened that he was a fire spirit root. Seeing it, the ice table and ice cup melted again, and the dripping water turned into a puddle on the ground. Nianbai accepted it as soon as he saw it was good, slapped him with a date, and immediately gave Hongling a gift. He also pretended to teach Yun 11 and Lu Rui a few words, asking them to get down and reflect. Tao Ran was so anxious that he and Lu Rui disappeared without even looking back. Senior brother, to prevent her from being cautious, don't forget to find someone to keep an eye on her. Don't worry. In the Qingyun sect, we will never let her run around blindly. But you, on the other hand, provoked her today and live on the same peak again. You may be plotted against her. I know. I will never let her approach me alone. I will not appear alone in front of her. In the palace, a quarter of an hour later, Lu Yun also left using the excuse of being busy. What's the point of this feast if Nianbai and Hongling are left? Hongling said goodbye directly. Nianbai looked at Hongling walking away on the clouds and felt relieved. I haven't been this happy in hundreds of years. After Yun 11's return from the secret realm, the entire sect has undergone earth-shaking changes, and everything has gone in a good direction. Very good, very good. Hongling stayed. However, Tao Ran disappeared directly. Nonsense, practice time is so precious, who wants to waste time with that crazy woman? When the ban was struck and she saw Hongling in the mirror light array, she blocked all sounds. She seizes every minute and every second to practice. Yun 11's talent was very good, and after Tao Ran found the trick, his practice became smoother and smoother. She could feel that she was making a little bit of progress every day. 3 years should be enough. She hopes that when the secret realm comes out in 3 years, she can successfully advance to nascent soul. Yun 11 hadn't reached that point yet, so she wanted to help Yun 11 finish it early. In addition, she and brother Lu Rui have experienced 2 nascent soul heavenly tribulations. I wonder if they can clear the demonic energy from the sword. Hongling, who was left out, became even more furious. Although her residence belongs to Tianjian Peak, it is the farthest corner among the dozens of peaks of Tianjian Peak. Although the Qingyun sect has hired 6 people to serve her, what she wants is Liu Yun. But after the banquet that day, she could no longer find Lu Yun. For example, she inquired about the Liu Yun people in the Foreign Affairs Hall, and rushed there, but was in vain. Then someone told her that the elder had gone to Fangxi, and when she went to look for it again, she was told that the elder Liu Yun had returned a long time ago. It was like this for 7 days in a row. She felt that the entire Qingyun sect was against her. In addition, she also found that no matter where she went, there were people following her, euphemistically called attendants. How could she find Lu Yun with this group of people tipping her off? She thought of something to say, so she sent people to talk to Yun 11, but every time they came back, they were just minions. Liu Yun avoided her, but Yungzi dared to ignore her. She went to find Yun 11 personally, but she found that every time she flew to Yun 11's peak, she would be rejected. That girl Yun 11 actually has a special magic circle in her residence. She tried to break the formation, but found that she couldn't. Even her voice transmission couldn't fly to the top of the mountain. She had never been so frustrated in her life. Of course she won't give up. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 412. Hongling went to Nianbai angrily and scolded the Qingyun sect for being dishonest and not treating guests well. She had been here for many days, but no master of Tianjian Peak came to receive her in person. The Qingyun sect treated guests so well that it was rumored that go out, who else will dare to come here in the future? Those words are serious. Fairy, please calm down quickly. Nianbai had kind eyes and waved his sleeves, and a table of spiritual tea and spiritual fruits appeared in front of him. Qingyun sect has always been the most hospitable to guests. In this way, is my status enough? I am the head of the entire Qingyun sect, does it count as half a master? If I come to receive it personally, Fairy Hongling will not complain, right? Dare I ask the fairy, do you want to visit the mountains, go to the market, or drink tea and play chess? I am very willing to do my best and accompany you throughout the process. Fairy, please don't dislike this bad old man like me. Nianbai smiled more and more kindly. He snapped his fingers and a chessboard appeared in the void. He made a please gesture to Hongling. Hongling waved his sleeves, and the chessboard instantly turned into ice shards, shattering and scattering on the ground, and then strode away with a groan. Young man, you've only been practicing for a few years? I can't deal with you yet. Nianbai clicked his tongue a few times. He was so angry that he could still live in the house despite being so virtuous. Nianbai stepped away and went back to continue studying his treasure. Hongling quickly found a breakthrough. That day, after she got rid of the group of people following her, she discovered Siguo Cave while wandering in the back mountain of Qingyun sect. Although there are many restrictions outside Siguo Cave, how can they stop her with a magic weapon? She met Ren Ping and Yan Yan who were banned. She heard that Lu Yun's 2 disciples were imprisoned under Lu Yun's personal order. When the 2 of them saw her, they saluted respectfully, called her senior, and praised and complimented her in various ways. She was so happy. This is what a junior should be like. If it weren't for the prohibition, she would definitely appreciate it. She tried to open the ban on Siguodong, but found that it didn't work. She was told that this restriction was special, with the master's mark on it, and only the master could open it. Hongling thought in her heart, how can a person do this in person? What a fool, so much so that only Lu Yun and Yun 11 were left alone in the huge Tianjian peak. Hongling didn't like wasting time with idiots. Just as she was about to leave, Yan Yan begged in a low voice and said she had something to say to Hongling. Hongling was already idle, so she calmed down and had a chat with Yan Yan. Yan Yan wanted to go out and knew that Hongling had been infatuated with her master for a long time. Seeing that Hongling kept asking about the relationship between Lu Yun and Yun 11, she naturally knew how to win over Hongling. She told that as long as she could be rescued, she would send 2 Honglings about Yungzi's secrets. Yan Yan smiled sweetly. If he could use Hongling's hand to gain his freedom early and teach Yun 11 a lesson, that would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. She has not forgotten that she was plotted by Yun 11 and was punished for losing the opportunity. She has not forgotten that because of Yun 11, she has been reduced from a beautiful girl in the sky to a dispensable existence. She has not forgotten that Yun 11 seduced her senior brother. Silly. During these days of confinement, she had been thinking about how to deal with this senior sister who made her heart thorny. She didn't want to kill Yun 11, she just wanted to torture Yun 11. She had been imprisoned for so long, and she hoped that one day Yun 11 would also be imprisoned in a place where the sky would not respond and the earth would not work. She is lonely and unable to find love. She hopes that one day Yun 11 will also betray her relatives and leave her relatives. No one will ask, no one will care about her, and she will be trampled on like a weed and a wild tree. Yun 11's secret. Hongling was quite interested. Once again, Hongling went to Nianbai's place. If Minggren doesn't tell secrets, either Liu Yun, Yungzi, or Liu Yun's other 2 disciples, you have to find one of them to greet me. Hongling smiled and sat down. If not, it's up to you. I will be shameless and follow you every step of the way from now on. Just as you said before, you will greet me wholeheartedly, right? She wanted to see who could outlast whom. Hong Ling sat there all day, dragging Nian Bai to watch the singing and dancing with her for 5 hours. She finally got her wish. Liu Yun didn't wait, but Nian Bai agreed and Fang Yanyan came out to greet her. What can be done? He had boasted before, was he really here to accompany her? Now Lu Yun doesn't want to see her, Yun 11 has offended her and cannot see her, only Yan Yan. In other words, it was released 2 months early. In this way, Nian Bai lifted the ban on Yan Yanzi crossing the cave. Yan Yan was grateful to Hong Ling and felt very grateful. Stop talking nonsense and speak frankly. What is Yun 11's secret? First of all, Yun 11 not only has a good relationship with Master, but also seduced my senior brother to the point of being devoted to him. That Ren Ping. Yes. Sure enough, bitch. No. Fairy, that Yun 11 always likes to grab things. Opportunity, man, there is nothing she doesn't like. Fairy, you have to be careful. My senior brother was fooled. For her, I will go through fire and water. Oh, Hong Ling raised her eyebrows. What other secrets are there? Yun 11's soul has been seriously injured. I heard that my uncle has sent a lot of medicinal materials and taught a lot of exercises. My master is also trying to find a solution, but so far he has not achieved much results. Soul injury, Hong Ling smiled. The soul injury is not like any other injury, it is almost difficult to completely heal. It's so ridiculous that you dare to say such arrogant words even if your spirit is hurt. What about having a baby in 3 years? Are you dreaming? No wonder these days, she dares not see anyone at her peak and is busy practicing. No wonder Liu Yun also took her natal sword to the sword sex lake to refine it. Could it be that Yun 11's soul couldn't even communicate with the natal sword? If so, that's good news. Hong Ling also took the time to check on Ren Ping. Knowing that Hong Ling had rescued Yan Yan, Ren Ping immediately asked for help. As long as he could get out, he would do his best for the fairy. He was anxious. The secret realm 3 years later is the most important secret realm in the Golden Core stage. He has been waiting for decades and must participate. And the sect competition will be the ticket to the secret realm. Therefore, Hong Ling appeared at just the right time, so he must seize the opportunity to get out. He hopes to get a good ranking in the sect competition. Moreover, Yan Yan told him that Yun 11 was already in the late stage of Jin Dan, and the gap between them became even greater. However, he had been thinking about Qiudong for several months and was restricted by spiritual energy, so his cultivation almost stagnated. He can't afford it? Do you like Yun 11? Ren Ping understood when Hong Ling asked. Who doesn't know that Hong Ling cares about their master? And since the master loves Yun 11 so much, it is inevitable that some people will overthink it. So Hong Ling is jealous of Yun 11. Yun 11, this junior is bound to win if he helps Hong Ling clear the obstacles. Will she help him out? Why is it inevitable that we will get the law? Senior, you know. Since it is the love of your heart, you must do it no matter the cost, right? Hong Ling smiled. For how long? As soon as possible. As long as I can get out, I will do my best. Do you have an idea? Yes. This junior will find an opportunity that is beyond the control of the master, and it will take 3 years at the latest. Okay. Just wait for my news. I will let you out after the sect competition. The 3 years of the monk's life are just a snap of the fingers. Not that long. It would be convenient for her if she could borrow someone else's help. She should prepare a 2-pronged plan first. It's the last day of the month. I'm very busy and have a lot of things on hand, so this is the only update for today. Compare yourself to each other. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 413. In a flash, many days passed. Qingyun sect gradually became lively. Guests from all walks of life arrived one after another. Almost all the sects came were the head elders and other important figures. Not only to give face to Nianbai, who has 3,000 years of life, but also because everyone wants to see for sure whether Nianbai of Qingyun sect, who was about to die, has really extended his life. They were not asking for advice on how to extend their lives, nor were they interested in knowing what kind of opportunity Nianbai had. They were more interested in the long-term peace and stability of their sect and maximizing their interests in the future. For example, the Sword sect, Hongling's head father and master uncle are here this time. Everyone was congratulating on their faces, but they were shocked and unhappy in their hearts, but they couldn't help but surrender. Seeing is believing, what Hongling said is true, Nianbai really made a breakthrough. At least for the next 600 years, Nianbai will still be the most powerful monk in the entire continent. Originally, they had the idea of threatening the future of the Qingyun sect and forcing Lu Yun to come as their son-in-law, but now, they can only smile. The Qingyun sect is still tough, and they are still the second child. The Sword sect fetched water with a bamboo basket, which was a bit embarrassing, but this did not prevent them from saving some face. They proposed that they would also bring a few disciples this time. Taking advantage of the good opportunity of the Qingyun sect's competition, the remaining sects of them seemed to be neither lively nor itchy, so they also wanted to participate and compete together. In this way, he can not only train the disciples of various sects, but also learn the style of the younger generation of talented monks of Qingyun sect. One call and 100 responses. All sects and sects think it is very good. More discussions can not only explore each other's strengths, but also facilitate your own progress. Nianbai responded. In this way, the sect competition unknowingly evolved into a Taoist competition. Qingyun sect's competition is still going on as usual. After the competition, the top 10 foundation building and golden elixir disciples will directly get the opportunity to compete with other sect disciples. Hongling plans to take care of Yun 11 in the competition. To this end, she asked her father to carefully select several junior brothers with good fighting abilities, and also asked the sect to equip her with soul-stirring magic weapons aimed at Yun 11. In the arena, if the sword doesn't have eyes, it's hard to say some things. Even if you click to stop, it's easy to lose control. It's normal for He Yongzi to suffer some losses. The soul is injured, isn't it? I'm afraid this time, I will never be able to jump up again. In this way, she could be regarded as helping Ren Ping. After that, if he wanted to do something to He Yongzi, it would be easy. She wanted to see if Lu Yun would protect her like this again after He Yongzi's body and soul were destroyed. How dare He Yongzi be so arrogant? Yan Yan was also very excited. She only knew that Hongling wanted to deal with her good senior sister, but she didn't know that Hongling and her senior brother had another agreement, so she even woke up from her dream laughing several times. I am so smart. The borrowing plan is about to come true. Once the senior sister is eliminated, not only will she be the only female disciple in Tianjian Peak, but she will also be able to sleep and fly with her senior brother. How wonderful this would be! It was not until the list of Qingyun sect disciples came out that Hongling and Yan Yan were both dumbfounded. On the list that was several feet long, He Yongzi's name was not found. Among the Tianjian Peak disciples, Yan Yan ranks first. The dazzling name in the past has disappeared. Yan Yan searched the entire list 10 times, checked all the names again and again, and confirmed them repeatedly. In the end, he was greatly disappointed. Her senior sister didn't even participate in the competition. Knowing that Hongling wanted to settle a score with He Yongzi, Jianzhong naturally helped her. That day, the head of the sword sect asked Nianbai in public, "How come the famous He Yungzi of your sect, who is also Lu Yun's eldest disciple, doesn't compare? For her sake, Lu Yun stayed in our sword sect's lake for so long. For a long time, we all want to see what Yun 11 is capable of. Leader Nianbai, don't hide it, and let us also open our eyes." Nianbai chuckled, "Registration for this competition is voluntary. Yun 11 has no intention of participating. Doesn't it violate the name of voluntariness if I force you to do so?" Nianbai introduced his disciple Lu Rui. "This is also a genius disciple of my section. He is about the same level as Yun 11. Lu Rui, when the time comes, don't be lazy and let your uncles take a good look at your strength." Lu Rui responded with a loud voice. That day, Yan Yan also ran up to Lu Yun. "Master, this competition is about the face of King Yun's section. Senior sister is so good at fighting, how can she not participate? Also, you also know my fighting power, you are not afraid of us." Is Tianji Unpeak embarrassed? Liu Yun said calmly, "Your senior sister is injured, don't you know? She needs to rest. As for our sect and my peak, we have never earned it through the ring. So if you don't get a good ranking, everyone will not question me, they will just questioning yourself and your previous family, do you understand? So hurry up and practice hard these days." Lu Rui also went to find Tao Ran. Although his junior sister would have someone give him the banned incense burner every night, he hadn't seen his junior sister for a long time. In the sect competition, if nothing unexpected happens, you can get the first place. Why not participate? In your own sect, you don't have to worry about who will play tricks. Tao Ran gave Lu Rui a bowl of the meat porridge he cooked. "How could I be worried? I was just afraid of trouble. That's why I didn't sign up. For example, Renping and the others are thinking about this competition to earn a good place to participate in the secret realm more than 2 years later. But I, senior brother, you know, with so many sect points, I can exchange them for any secret realm quota that my sect can decide at will." For Tao Ran, this was enough. Moreover, since everyone knows that my soul was injured, is it too false for me to get better so quickly? Senior brother, I just want to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger. Being in the limelight, taking away Lu Rui's first place, and becoming the envy of everyone. Apart from the glory in appearance, the facts have little meaning. Tao Ran even had doubts in his mind. In the plot, Yun 11 was left in the secret realm and could not come out. In fact, he was following the wishes of many sects and monks. Such a talented monk has long been feared, right? Who would hope that King Yun's sect would produce another Liu Yun? In view of these considerations, Tao Ranke declined the registration. However, now that all the major sects are gearing up, her mind has changed again. "Senior brother, will you accompany me to meet the headmaster?" Tao Ran blinked. In the master's secret room, Yun 11 made a proposal that Lu Rui thought was ridiculous. She proposed to participate in the sect competition as Tao Buran. Well, she told Nianbai about her activities under Tao Ran's identity a while ago. She also persuaded Nianbai eloquently. "I put on ice to train my muscles, change my body shape, and change my voice. As long as I don't use my master's sword moves, no one can tell who I am. If you win, slap in the face." The little-known King Yun sect disciples can beat them all over the place, so what qualifications do they have to compete with Yun 11? After they see their strength, they will have to weigh it in the future. Always thinking about testing and provoking. There's no shame in losing. The lies about my soul being damaged will not be revealed. Because the demon gate is closely watching me, I haven't been able to go out to practice. This time I got the name Tao Oran, and I will have an identity when I go out in the future. Others' name was awarded to me by Grandmaster. He has done so much for us. I want to keep this name. Everything is beneficial and no harm is done. Uncle, what do you think? The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 414. This world is very likely to change his life, and because of the old man, Taoran hopes that he can leave his name here. Of course, there is another reason. In the world of cultivation, time flies. If you are not careful, it will be 10 years, 8 years, or even 100 years. If the man in black was coming for her, she wanted to give him some direction. These 3 words Tao Buran may help him find her quickly. Since it's all good and no harm, why do you ask me what to do? Nian Bai glared at her. You have your own master, why don't you go find it? Lu Rui's wings are so hard, let him help you to the end. Tao Ran naturally knew how to submit. If she really wants to become Tao Buran, it won't be a matter of tokens. Identity, background, experience, time of entry, master, etc., etc., it would require a series of falsifications. Lu Yun alone has no say, and Lu Rui is even more unreliable. How dare you make such a request? This was the first time Nian Bai encountered a disciple who was not afraid of him at all and even came to ask for his help. Uncle is reasonable, and the disciple's request is also for the consideration of the sect, in order to live up to the careful guidance of the soul of the ancestor, right? The ancestor has worked hard, and the name he bestowed should be carried forward, right? Tao Ran smiled calmly, imitating Yun 11. There is a lot of meaning in the smile. Actually, strictly speaking, she can be regarded as inheriting the inheritance from the ancestor, and is his direct disciple. If that were the case, even Nian Bai would have to call her, what? Grandma's aunt? It's funny just thinking about it. Tao Ran didn't know if Nian Bai had thought of this, but anyway, he saw him staring at him. Nian Bai really had nothing to say. He gained her hundreds of years of life, and the Qingyun sect had more valuable time to train disciples. The sect also benefited from so many benefits brought by her secret realm. The current good situation is all thanks to her. He still remembered how the old man was furious in his dream, and how he told him to take good care of Yun 11. He dared not say anything, and it was difficult for him to do anything. That's all, he is just like Liu Yun, just let it go. So, after Tao Ran agreed to let Lu Rui use the incense burner day and night for the next 10 days, Nian Bai finally nodded. He also gave Tao Ran 2 bottles of elixirs. One is variable in voice and the other is variable in breath. You don't need to worry about the rest. I will arrange it. Tao Ran was not polite and handed the sword of destiny to Nian Bai again. Nian Bai was good at refining weapons, so she asked him to add more layers of disguise to his sword so that no one could tell it was her sword, He Yungzi's. Although Nian Bai muttered a few words, he accepted it and told him to pick it up in 3 days. Tao Ran made himself look like Tao Ran again in front of Nian Bai. After Nian Bai gave some instructions, he called Lu Yun. Tao Ran brought tea and water to Lu Yun, but Lu Yun didn't recognize her immediately. Lu Yun didn't notice the clue until he looked into her eyes. Neither the transformed god nor the real master could recognize him, so that's fine. The matter was thus settled. Under Tao Ran's protection, Lu Rui was not punished this time, and everyone was happy. At the last moment before the registration deadline, the name Tao Buran was quietly mixed in the dense list of sects. On the other side, Hongling, who didn't even wait for Yungzi's name until the end, lost her temper. She still didn't believe that He Yungzi could hide all this time. During his recent days and nights of training, Tao Ran finally realized the benefits of his mutated spiritual roots and Yun 11's own talent. Faintly, she felt that she was not far away from the perfection of the golden elixir. In order to maintain her realm at the golden elixir realm before the arrival of the secret realm, she has stopped practicing internal energy for the past 2 days. She began to practice magic. After making it clear that he wanted to use Tao Ran's identity, Taoran shamelessly took the token that was a reward for coming out of the secret realm and went to the top of the sex library to bring back many sword manuals suitable for his practice. Lu Yun went to the warehouse to redeem a top-quality sword for her, and gave her a few more nascent soul sword talismans. Time flies by, and more people from various sects come. Almost all sects came with more than a dozen of their most capable disciples. The birthday celebration ceremony will be held first. In recent days, Hongling has not been idle either. She made in-depth inquiries, and her hard work paid off. She finally learned that Yun 11 had been severely injured in the secret realm earlier. When she came out of the secret realm, she knelt down, or that Nian Bai had added several barriers and placed a fog belt in person. Go. It can be seen that Yun 11 really has a problem. Although Yun 11 cannot be compared, there is no reason not to attend the birthday party, so Hongling has been keeping an eye on her recently. Hongling inquired and found out that Yun 11 often got angry recently. Lu Rui, who had a good relationship with Yun 11, also asked someone to buy a lot of medicinal materials that were beneficial to the soul. In the end, these things were secretly sent to Yun 11. When Yan Yan, who was not affected by the ban, went to visit Yun 11, she happened to see Yun 11 drop his natal sword on the ground in the middle of practicing. For this reason, Yun 11 was very angry and almost started fighting with Yan Yan, looking very angry. Therefore, it seems that Yun 11's soul is really so weak that she can't even communicate with her natal sword. When Hongling saw Yun 11 today, she deliberately amplified her 5 senses to pass by her. As a result, she smelled the fragrance of elixir on Yun 11's body. There is a strong smell of resurrecting grass in it. Not only was Yun 11 not in good condition, she was also in a bad mood. Lu Rui asked her if she wanted to rest first, but Yun 11 actually had tears in her eyes. By now, Hongling had completely believed that He Yongzi was really mentally wounded. She was secretly proud that she had such a huge weakness. If she couldn't seize the opportunity to take care of it, her life would be in vain. At the birthday party, Nian Bai was merciless in accepting gifts. The 3,000 years of experience of the old fox are not in vain. The expense of entertaining so many guests is huge, how can it be spent in vain? Win back. No, from Taoran's point of view, he still wanted to make a lot of money. Lu Yun and other Qingyun sect elders came first to offer gifts. What they gave was either a treasure of heaven and earth that was 10,000 years old, or a rare magic weapon. Nian Bai was afraid that no one would see them, so he ordered people to lay out these spiritual treasures one by one, and hang them one by one in the treasure pavilion next to his seat. But Taoran, who had already visited the sect's secret treasury, naturally knew that these things, originally belonged to the sect's treasury, and one of them was obtained by her from the secret realm. Now she takes it out to make a fat man, but she swaps the left hand with the right hand. The scene gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets bigger, and finally it's just about fishing. Sure enough, it was Lu Rui's turn to give a gift, and the gift he gave was also a spiritual treasure. The items are rare and the ostentation is large enough to make people's eyes open. But, Taoran snorted, Lu Rui also got this thing from the warehouse. She has seen it? Why didn't anyone notify me to go to the warehouse to get the gifts? Old fox. However, she is a very generous person and can withstand the test. What Taoran presented was 2,000-year-old blood beads obtained from the secret realm and a crystal-clear flowing pearl. Nian Bai expressed satisfaction. Taoran secretly expressed his heartache. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 415. Not only Taoran, but also the bigwigs from various sects who came to the banquet began to secretly curse Nian Bai and Old Fox. How could anyone put birthday gifts on the table in front of so many people and forcefully compare them? In this way, this birthday gift is a matter of face for all the gift givers. Moreover, the gifts given by the juniors of the King Yun sect are all extraordinary, so they, the old guys who represent their own sect, can't be inferior to other juniors and make people laugh, right? The bosses took back the gift boxes they had prepared and started rummaging through their respective storage spaces again. Over there, I heard that the Juxiao gate at the bottom of the 8th Avenue gate presented the 10,000 years Xianyang jade. The Yintian pavilion in front of them could only send the Jianjian pen and the 10,000 years holy light stone. Seeing that Yishan pavilion had given 2 items, Qinji pavilion sitting next to them had to give 3 items. The status ranking determines how much effort is made, and the face of the sect comes before everything else. For example, the sword sect, because it attracted the most people and had the highest status, so in order not to lose face, the gifts they gave out were the best in terms of quality and quantity. Even Hongling, under Chaoran's deliberately provocative eyes and meaningful smile, gave away 3 important gifts in one breath. Chaoran was very satisfied with this, thinking that this was Hongling's rent for staying in the sect for 100 days. In short, King Yun sect gained a lot this time. After making an impassioned speech in which all the Taoist sects were watching and helping each other, Nian Beguo introduced the several people from the demonic sect who had previously been caught sneaking into the King Yun sect, and told all the sects to check it out after returning home. Being penetrated by the magic gate without knowing it. Instead of being cautious and conservative in the past, this time, Nian Bai actually destroyed the Danshan of those demon sect disciples with his own hands in front of everyone, cutting off their path and making clear the King Yun sect's attitude. Go back to where you came from. Warn your demon lord, the King Yun sect is not something they can mess with. If we find something like this again next time, the King Yun sect will never let it go. For a time, all the sects expressed their willingness to look after King Yun section, and Nian Bai was also elected as the leader of the 8 great sections. The birthday banquet lasted 3 days. What was held next was the King Yun sect competition. At the beginning of the competition, Yun 11 quietly disappeared. At the same time, the restrictions and formations at the peak of Yungzi's residence were operating at the same time, and the peak was still full of thunder spirit energy. These all told outsiders that she was practicing at her peak. And Tao Buran has secretly appeared among the inner disciples, waiting to be divided into groups by drawing lots. Tao Ran has been fighting in the ring for nearly 3 months. Many people have been beaten by her, and even more people know her. Her appearance, which she had not seen for a long time, caused a small sensation. Nian Bai, on the other hand, had already arranged a proper identity for her. She was convinced that the sect was destroyed by the enemy 50 years ago. Because she was hunted by the enemy, she took refuge with the King Yun sect and submitted to the King Yun sect with the remaining resources of the section. The condition was that the King Yun sect would take in her and conceal her identity. For her safety, she was assigned to the Foreign Affairs Department that Lu Rui was in charge of. She usually wore a mask when going on missions, so not many people knew her. Last year, her enemy died, and now she can finally see him in person. That's why she has recently become active in various parts of the sect, including major arenas. With such a story background, I am not afraid of anyone checking. King Yun sect has 8,000 foundation building monks and 500 golden elixir monks participating in the competition. Tao Bubu is one of these 500 people. The first arena match went very quickly, with 20 arenas going on at the same time. Pairs compete to determine the winner. Then 2 by 2 compete to determine the winner. Among the remaining hundreds of losers, there are still 25 places. Therefore, the competition is relatively fair. As long as you have strong ability, you will definitely stand out. Tao Ran was already very familiar with the arena competition. As soon as he stood there, he already won half the battle in terms of momentum. Her cultivation level is not far away from perfecting the golden elixir, and she almost only needs to suppress her cultivation level to win. But she still controlled her cultivation. She regarded the ring battle as a warm-up and even more as a practice ground for spells. Tao Aran already had a reputation for being ruthless in the early days. Many of her fellow apprentices from the Qingyun sect were trained by her, so there was always an audience in the arena where she was. Tao Aran did not disappoint everyone watching the battle. He not only satisfied their eyes, but also fully aroused their emotions. There were constant tuts, and her audience was glad not to be in a group with her, praying not to run into her next, and secretly crying tears of sympathy for her rival monk. Tao Ran, who made training his first goal, could definitely win with just a few moves. But she just wasn't in a hurry to win. She practices. She knows that practice makes perfect. This is true for being a human being, and the same is true for cultivating immortality. Whether it is martial arts, exercises, or soul, only through tempering can one become more mature and powerful. Seeing that a sword was about to choke her, she withdrew her hand and gave him hope again. She also gave the opponent plenty of time to gather strength and fight again. When the opponent came to attack again, she changed her sword skills to greet him. Seeing that she was about to win again, she simply put away her sword and only used spells to attack and dodge. If the opponent is more capable, she will use sword moves. If the opponent is weak, she will practice defense. For those who are powerful in the method, she will mobilize her five senses and consciousness to feel it, and think of ways to use her brain to crack or find loopholes. She refused to let her go, and even prevented her opponent from surrendering several times, forcing him to use all his strength. She even beat a senior brother to tears, running and hiding while begging her to let him go. One junior sister saw that she had been hit by the draw, and she even pretended to be sick and fell down the second before she entered the ring. Seeing that everyone was afraid of her, she actually lost 2 games with trembling hands when the situation was very good in the next few rounds of competition. In response, everyone's face twitched and they were speechless. Is this crazy? Losing on purpose just to play more games? She could have entered the top 150 in just 2 games, but she had to play 8 games before taking risks to advance. Watching from a distance, Lu Yun's lips curled up, feeling very satisfied. Nian Bai's face was serious, but in his heart he valued Yun 11 more and more. If a person who has brains, ability, clear goals, and is ruthless to himself can't succeed, who else can? Lu Rui, who successfully advanced in just 2 rounds, said what he was thinking, "It's great. All I have accumulated is experience. Master, do you want to give me a false identity? He is the head disciple, no dare to lose. It is not convenient to go to the ring to fight on weekdays, but he actually wants to practice. Can you be more angry? It's just that you don't want to use your brain. You should learn the bad habit of following Yun 11 to become your teacher quickly." Nian Bai breathed out loudly from his nose. "What kind of fake identity do you want? Then why bother? Just let her learn from experience. Later on, you will be able to identify her, can't you just pinch her like a sheep as hard as you can?" Nian Bai grinned, "From now on, if you pester her, if she doesn't compete with you every day, you will never return the incense burner to her. If she doesn't beat you to the ground every day, you will expose her identity as Tao Niruan." Lu Rui suddenly felt pain in his body. "Let's make progress together." Nian Bai felt that it would be better if his stupid apprentice could be trained by Yun 11 to be more thoughtful. The two of them have almost the same cultivation level. If you can compete with each other and have a healthy competition, maybe the sect can gain 2 more powerful gods in one breath before you ascend or fall. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 416. The next day, the promotion competition for the top 50 continued. It is still a 2x2 competition, and the one who gets 5 wins in the shortest time will directly enter the top 50. Tao Ran continued her style from the previous day. After winning 4 consecutive victories, she began to practice according to the situation. The monks tried to avoid her, but she chased after them. These 3 words Tao Buran have become the nightmare of the entire Qingyun sect's young monks. In the end, she pinched the point and entered the top 50 with a score of 48th. Although the combat power of the brothers she fought against was not as good as that of brother Lu, they had different spiritual roots, age, talents, understanding, and skills. She still benefited a lot from the many rounds of fighting. Especially after 2 consecutive days of hardy competition, her hands felt hot and her whole body was in excellent condition. When she meditated at night, that mysterious feeling came again. I woke up this morning feeling refreshed and felt that I had made a big step forward from cultivation to soul. She later entered the top 20 with an 18th place finish. Na Yanyan was extremely lucky and entered the next round of competition with a score of 20th. Her combat power is indeed not high, but her resources are good. Originally, she had brought out many good magic weapons from her family, and as Liu Yun's disciple, she had a lot of good things on hand, whether it was from the sect distributing them or receiving ordinary gifts. And yesterday, she, who had been in close contact with Fairy Hongling recently, also received a bottle of elixir that could concentrate energy and improve her cultivation level in a short period of time. This thing helped Yan Yan a lot. She was in the early stage of Jindan cultivation, but after taking the medicine, she was able to exert the spiritual power of the middle and late stages of Jindan almost immediately, helping her to advance to the next level without any danger. Tao Ran also lamented that this guy had avoided many draws. Otherwise, I would have taught her such a lesson that she would cry on the ground. The lottery for the top 20 is much more knowledgeable. They were divided into 2 groups, upper and lower, and 5 people from each group were selected from 10 people. In the end, the 5 people left in each group then competed against each other, 1 against 5, 2 against 4, and 3 against 3. Unlike Lu Rui, Yan Yan, and the others, who were in the upper half of the group, Tao Baran, an ordinary disciple of the inner sect, was placed in the lower half. Lu Rui has been the #1 golden elixir in the sect for more than 10 years, and Tao Ran doesn't want to run into him early. Therefore, she must treat him seriously this time. The top 20 members of the Qingyun sect competed. This was the best opportunity to find out the strength of the Qingyun sect, and it attracted the attention of almost all the guests. The upper half will compete first. In the end, Lu Rui got the first place, while Yan Yan once again narrowly passed the test and got the 5th place, which can be regarded as advancing to the top 10. Just her? Seeing Yan Yan's self-satisfied look, with her tail wanting to be lifted up and smiling at Hongling, Tao Ran wanted to go up and teach her a lesson. Therefore, when the second half of the competition started, I originally thought of retaining my strength and just avoiding Lu Rui's 5th place in the next round, preparing to take 3rd place in the group. However, 4th place Tao Ran changed his mind. She had to get 1st place before she could personally deal with the 5th place in the opposite group. This time, under the premise that her cultivation was still in the middle stage of the golden core, she used 95% of her strength to win 3 games in a row. She finally got her wish and became the 1st place in the second half of the group. Lu Rui was shocked. Junior sister's progress in actual combat was faster than he thought. The junior sister's cultivation level is still suppressed, her natal sword is useless, and even the thunder spells are suppressed. Almost the whole process is using the new sword she got a while ago, using the sex sword technique, but she has already reached the end this step. When facing the beloved disciple of Kang Yu Peek's 4th senior uncle, she could still control it and let that senior brother take dozens more moves under her hands without losing face. Her true cultivation level is probably higher than that senior brother's. A little higher. Only then did all the guests pay attention to her. Tao otherwise. Who? Nobody. Probably, they are talents secretly cultivated by King Yun sect? Everyone is still more willing to believe that the second half of the group is not strong enough. Until an hour later, during the 10-to-5 competition, Tao Ran tortured Yan Yan on the ring. What a great opportunity! This was the only opportunity so far to beat Yan Yan upright. How could she miss it? She didn't even dare to look at Liu Yun. She used her rich practical experience to make the long sword in her hand flash with golden light and continuously inject spiritual power, beating Yan Yan until Yan Yan had no power to fight back and could only defend and dodge in various ways. Later, she finally understood how Yan Yan got to this point. Yan Yan's messages kept coming. Junior sister, I am a disciple of Tianji Unpeak. Do you want to show me some dignity? Tao Ran, is this how you've won so far? Have you ever thought about what you will face if you are so aggressive? Tao Ran, then you are doing this under the guise of your master. Does your master know? Isn't it easy for you to practice in the inner sect? I advise you not to toast or eat as a fine. Have you ever thought that your current behavior may ruin your future? Are you really going to embarrass me and make my master lose face? If you offend me, you have offended my master. My master is the strongest in the continent, the strongest in the sect, and the future leader. Are you sure you want to go against him? No way, Tao. I remember you. If you don't save some face for me today, I guarantee that you won't be able to survive in the sect. In fact, I will make it difficult for you to survive in the entire world of immortal cultivation. Tao Ran ignored her at all, and his movement speed and strength increased by another 20%. Seeing that threats and coercion failed, Yan Yan could only change his tactics. If you can let me go this time, I will give you opportunities and resources. From now on, can I give you spiritual stones every month? 100 medium-grade spiritual stones every month, plus 2 bottles of elixirs. Or, what do you have? If you want it, you can tell me. I still have magic weapons here. I'll pick one for you. Barabara. Here in Taoran, only Lu Yun feels embarrassed. What kind of garbage is this? But it just so happened that she didn't have to worry about how to explain to Liu Yun later. Because from the moment Yan Yan opened her first threatening sentence, Tao Ran had recorded her words with a recording stone. Noisy. My aunt doesn't like your trash. Tao Ran's spiritual energy poured in, and he struck out with a very powerful sword. The protective shield that Yan Yan just threw had not completely opened the barrier, but it directly shattered into dots of spiritual light under the sword. Yan Yan was startled and quickly threw out a wood spell. An overwhelming vine net covered the sky, and Tao Ran swung his long sword to chop it down, while Yan Yan used the half-breath time he had just gained to throw out another Hot Wheel magic weapon. Yan Yan observed Tao Buren for a long time and saw that she was always using a sword. The sword strikes were fast and sharp, quite similar to senior brother Lu Rui's posture. He guessed that she was Jin Lingan, so before the start of the arena competition, Yan Yan had specially given this Tao Buren junior sister prepared a lot of fire magic weapons that can overcome her golden spiritual roots. I saw that the hot fire wheel with the rapid real fire, under Yan Yan's urging, locked onto Tao Ran, then pursued him, attacking with great momentum one after another. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 417. How could a mere vine net trap Tao Ran? In just half a breath, the vine net was shattered into little green lights under Tao Ran's spiritual sword and dissipated in the air. When he saw the hot wheel being thrown out, Tao Ran only sneered. Will she be afraid of fire magic weapons? Thunder and fire are one family. She was not in a hurry, and since she was full of energy, she simply jumped up and down with Yan Yan to play. She always kept her figure half a foot in front of the flames ejected by the Hot Wheels, just like the point where she was about to be swept away, but missed the mark a little. Yan Yan was unwilling to control it, so he kept pouring spiritual power into it to urge the magic weapon to be faster, more accurate, and harder. How did Yan Yan know that Tao Ran was deliberately draining her spiritual power in this way? Tao Ran knew very well that Yan Yan, who was too lazy to practice, was most afraid of fighting a protracted war. At this time, she had no time to replenish her spiritual power. Only when her danshan was drained and she fought back again could she do the most damage. Sure enough, Yan Yan gritted her teeth and doubled the speed of the Hot Wheels. Seeing that her face was pale and she was sweating, Tao Ran knew that she was at the end of her strength, so he saw the right moment and suddenly turned back, pouring a lot of thunder power into the sword. The spirit sword itself stirred, making a clanging sound, shining with golden light, and was pushed sideways to hit the Hot Wheel directly behind it. With a sound of kang, thunder and fire collided, making a huge impact sound. How many people exclaimed, and then they realized that the unknown guy named Tao Buran was actually a Lei Lingan. With such a good spiritual root, Tao would have hidden it, and only now has he shown off his special skills. What a great talent! With such a good foundation, he was not specially trained by the sect, but was just left in the inner sect? Is the Qingyuan sect deliberately not revealing the trump card cultivated by Xingzhang? Or maybe the Qingyuan sect didn't find such a good prospect. All the guests looked at Nian Bai, who had an unchanging face with a profound smile. However, before they had time to ask questions, they all turned around, withdrew their eyes, and once again turned their attention back to the terrifying arena. After the collision between the spirit sword and the Hot Wheel, not only was it unscathed, but its momentum was increasing steadily. How not to be frightened? At first glance, the Hot Wheel seemed to be at least a high-grade magic weapon with built-in defensive functions. To be able to activate the spiritual sword and suppress the fire wheel requires extraordinary spiritual power. I saw that the fire wheel was forcibly poured into it by the powerful thunder force like a huge wave, and it suddenly stopped in mid-air and made a rattling sound, showing its weakness. Tao Ran flew up over there, with the spiritual sword in hand, and an invincible sword swept across it. The Hot Wheels were controlled by both sword intent and thunder power, and flew straight towards Yan Yan. Sword intent? Everyone was shocked again. Lai Linjan's sword cultivator? The younger generation of Qingyuan sect is not simple. Before everyone's exclamations could be heard, they saw the flying fire wheel about a foot away from Yan Yan. It could no longer withstand the mighty thunder and exploded. The thunder and fire rose 10 feet high. It can be called the most shocking scene in the entire competition so far. At that moment, the entire arena shook, and even the arena barrier shook several times. At this moment, the exhausted Yan Yan, who had only half opened the protective shield, was not only affected by the thunder and fire, but also suffered the backlash of the Hot Wheels. When she fell to the ground, she saw that half of her body was blown to pieces. She couldn't bear it any longer and suddenly a mouthful of blood spurted out. She looked at Lu Yun pitifully, holding a breath of true energy, which was as smooth as a gossamer. She said pitifully, "Master, the rules of the arena competition are to stop at the last minute, but this Tao clearly wants to kill me. Please help me make the decision, Master." After all, she couldn't bear it any longer, so she spat out another mouthful of blood and fainted. Tao Ran slowly looked away from Yan Yan. Deserve it? Yan Yan was seriously injured and would be unable to move for at least half a year. But her injury was not that simple. First of all, Yan Yan's cultivation level was forcibly improved by taking pills. Originally, it consumed her own original power. Now she is suffering from the backlash and the consequences will be doubled. In addition, she is a demon herself, and she has wood spirit roots. She actually dares to use fire magic weapons to attack her opponents. This is fully in line with the saying playing with fire and burning yourself. Ask, what is wood most afraid of? Fire and thunder. Now, the thunder and fire had severely injured her, and her meridians to her dantian were affected. Not only was her wood spirit energy unable to repair the damage caused by the thunder and fire, it was also completely unusable. So the days to come will be easier for her. She had to endure the pain of repair from the double strikes of thunder and fire every day with her wooden body. This process could not be completed overnight in half a year. This kind of hurtful situation may not be able to be repaired even if she is given 3 years, let alone half a year. This is what Tao Ran wants. In the plot, Yan Yan imprisoned Yun 11 into a tree, and she had to cut off Yun 11's skin after her death. She eventually teamed up with the magic vine to kill Lu Yun. Compared to Ren Ping, who directly killed Yun 11, searched for Yun 11's soul, and took away everything from Yun 11 and the sect, Yan Yan was not much better. She was so despicable that she could never die simply, she would have to endure all kinds of torture. And now, everything has just begun. Lu Yun was still slightly shocked by Tao Ran's attack. After all, the relationship between Yun 11 and Yan Yan is usually very good, at least on the surface. Tao Ran directly sent the recording stone to Lu Yun. Master, I have carefully considered how I deal with my junior sister. First, she is using the name of Master to embarrass herself, ruin her reputation, and lose Tianji and Feng's face. Second, she had a close relationship with Fairy Hongling, and her spiritual power was obviously promoted to the middle stage of the golden elixir by the elixir. This is explicitly prohibited in the competition. In addition, the disciple knew that there were many things that the master was unable to do because of his life-saving grace. Since the disciple is the senior sister of Tianji and Feng, he has the obligation to teach the junior sister well on behalf of the master. Tao Ran's words were also passed on to Nian Bai. She knew that Nian Bai was a good leader and acted in the interests of the sect in everything, so he would definitely be on her side. As for Liu Yun, the same is true. He had been held hostage by favor for too long, and he would not blame him if he helped him. Sure enough, Lu Yun felt much more relaxed after clicking on the sound stone. Just think of it as cleaning up the house in a subtle way. The record stone was pushed to Nang Bai's place again. In fact, before that, Nian Bai and Lu Rui were quite frightened. Although Yun 11's previous attacks were ruthless, they were ruthless in their moves. She understands the overall situation and knows how to advance and retreat. During the competition with her classmates, she always pays attention to the process. She never acts cruelly and always forces her opponent to admit defeat. But she just treated Yan Yan, there was obviously a reason. After clicking on the record stone, Nian Bai understood it immediately. Indeed, in his heart, Yun 11 was right and still had merit. That Yan Yan is so unattractive. Just as he was about to signal the next group to continue the competition, someone jumped out to defend Yan Yan. Who else? Of course it's the red water chestnut. The reason? Not only because Yan Yan is still useful, but also because Lu Yun is trying to get ahead. In her opinion, even if Lu Yun didn't like Yan Yan, Yan Yan still represented his face. Now that someone slaps him in the face, it's impossible for him not to be angry. No matter how calm his face is. At this time, if he helps himself, can he still remember his own goodness? The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 418. Seeing that Yan Yan was taken away like this, while Tao Buran swaggered to the side and sat cross-legged to meditate, Hong Ling immediately expressed her attitude in public. It's interesting. What are the rules of King Yun's sex competition? Is it until the point is reached? Or until it is beaten down, injured and disabled, causing harm to the roots? This otherwise monk was ruthless, deliberately hurting people, and kissed elder Liu Yun. When the disciples were beaten like that, shouldn't your sect deal with it impartially? Why do you just pretend that nothing happened? Leader Nian Bai. When she mentioned this, everyone in the sword sect, no matter how lazy they were to mind their own business, had to support her and could only agree. Young girl Hongling is serious, Nian Bai chuckled, completely ignoring Hongling's eyes that turned dark instantly. Ever since Yun 11 broke the idea of seniority last time, Nian Bai would always call her girl when he saw her, always pushing her to the younger generation, causing her and Lu Yun to be in the wrong generation. Nian Bai, everyone can see clearly that after the Hot Wheels appeared, Tao fought back for fear of being hurt by the real fire. It was an act of self-protection, how could it be said deliberately? We are all practitioners. You should be able to understand. Hongling naturally refuses to give up. But the fact is the fact. Everyone has eyes, and the one who is seriously injured now is Fairy Yan Yan. Judging from the results, this Tao must be responsible in order to explain to Elder Liu Yun and Miss Yan Yan, right? Since King Yun sect after opening this competition, we have to show everyone the attitude of the first section. For some reason, Hongling saw that Tao was naturally unhappy, so she wanted to trample her to death. With the King Yun sect involved, let's see what else Old Man Bai has to say. Tao Ran couldn't listen anymore. She stopped meditating and stood up to face him. For the boss to argue with such a shrew is simply a price drop. My current self, with an average status, is quite suitable. What do you call this girl? Tao Ran stepped forward with a smile. The arrogant Hongling was instantly mute. What? Girl, not a senior, not a fairy, calling yourself girl? There are people here who don't recognize me. Not a girl, Tao Ran glanced up and down at Hongling. Is it my mother-in-law? That's unreasonable. Just as Hongling was about to get angry, Lu Rui immediately jumped out, Fairy, don't laugh at me. This junior sister Tao has been doing tasks outside for many years. Not only is she unfamiliar with people, but she also doesn't understand the ways of the world. I hope the fairy will be considerate. Junior sister must not be rude, this is the famous Hongling fairy. Fairy Hongling? The daughter of the head of the sword sect, Tao Ran patted his head. Hongling snorted and sneered. Tao Ran clasped his fists and murmured, no wonder. No wonder, Hongling heard the sarcasm in her words. It's better not to say some things clearly, right? I'm afraid you'll lose face. Tao Ran continued to smile, yes, a provocative smile. Are you going to say it? Hongling became angry, her aura suddenly changed, and she pressed her nascent soul towards Tao Ran. Seeing that Tao Ran and Lu Rui both turned pale at the same time, Lu Yun was about to step forward to stop him when Nian Bai, who passed away with a message, stopped him. Let her make up for the mistakes she made. It's just an experience. If it doesn't work, I won't deal with the aftermath for her. If she can get ahead, you have to trust her. Nian Bai believed her. Because he felt that Yun 11 had never suffered a loss in front of him, so that kind of thing would probably never happen in front of others. Tao Ran was pulled back several steps by Lu Rui. Angry, she directly pushed Lu Rui away, facing the pressure and walked back again, not caring about the trace of blood that spilled from her mouth due to the suppression of her cultivation. What? The daughter of the head of the family is amazing? Are you still relying on your old age and bullying the weak? Who are you scolding? Hongling almost exploded with anger. Who are you calling old? Who are you calling a bully? Aren't you hiding half of what you said? Do you want to hear the truth? Then I will tell you clearly. Tao Ran breathed heavily. Listen up. No wonder you don't have the most basic understanding of the arena, because you are the daughter of the head of the sword sect, so you have never been in the arena, right? On the arena, when life and death are at stake, you must first save your life. In the fight, the sword has no eyes, and a Luo Jinxian can't guarantee that he will escape unscathed. Dare I ask the fairy, if I hadn't used my thunder power to resist, how would I have survived? How fierce is the real fire, am I waiting to be burned to death? If I really killed my fellow disciples, Why didn't I activate the Hot Will to explode on senior sister Yan Yan? This is one of them. Second, because of your special status, no wonder you dare to point fingers at our sex affairs. Senior sister Yan Yan and I are both from Qingyun section. Now is the sect competition of Qingyun section. Our sect will handle the punishment for winning or losing. Our leaders and elders haven't spoken yet, so it's your turn to teach them how to do things and question them. To put it bluntly, what does the handling of our sect's internal affairs have to do with you? Do you care? You can't care about it, but you still want to care about it. Are your hands a little longer? The head of the sword sect and the elders did not stop you. For those who don't know, they think that Jianzong didn't teach you well, or that you represent Jianzong to come forward. Well, either you are uneducated, or there is something wrong with your sect. Tao Ran deliberately guided the nature of the incident. Jianzong does have a big appetite. Instead of letting them be so rampant, why not have someone come to challenge them and see if they dare to swim against the current openly? She is not brave enough to dare to do this. But there is nothing to be afraid of at all. Anyway, Tao's identity is fake. As long as she is happy, she can cancel this identity at any time. Let's see where Jianzong goes to seek revenge on himself. She is not afraid that the sword sect will bear a grudge and go to the Qingyun sect. Where is the strength? They are incompetent. Besides, without her, wouldn't Jianzong want to replace her? So, instead of being angry, it's better to feel relieved first. At least it can earn some face for the sect. I'm warning you to stop talking nonsense. Tao Ran spoke very fast, not giving Hongling a chance to speak. Third, no matter what I do wrong, my sect will teach me and punish me. Now on my sect's territory, in front of the elders of my family and the elders of various sects, you rely on your status and cultivation to humiliate me. Aren't you trying to show off to my master? You have to look at the owner to beat a dog. What do you, the sword sect, mean? Are you deliberately trying to slap our master in the face? As soon as Nian Bai breathed heavily, he knew that he was going to be pulled out. What can be done? He, who had always shown himself to be calm and composed, could only cooperate by frowning another 3 points and letting out a tenth of his momentum. Fourth, do you keep talking about the rules and attitudes of our sex competition? What result do you want to achieve? Do you want to smear the reputation of our Qingyun sect? Or do you want to elevate the status of the Jian sect? Do you want to destroy the alliance of the 8 major sects? Or do you want our Qingyun sect to abdicate in favor of a worthy person? These words made everyone in the sword sect change their expressions. The more you talk, the more you go. Where has all this gone? Fifth, you keep saying that I deliberately hurt people in the ring, but I think that since there is no ring now and you can use your cultivation to suppress us, you are really serious, right? What did our senior brother Lu Rui do wrong? Sanctioned by you. You didn't know he was the disciple of the leader? But you still did it. What was your intention? Do you, the sword sect, still have our Qingyun sect and our leader in your eyes? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 419. Tao Ran's words were loud and powerful. At this moment, everyone in the sword sect also changed from embarrassed to panic. Nian Bai was very satisfied. The effect is very good. What is the purpose of his birthday party? What's the point of him agreeing to put the sect competition in front of everyone? Isn't it right here? If he extends his lifespan, the Qingyun sect's waist should be strengthened. Yun 11's use of the topic is just a spur, a reminder, and even a warning. Regardless of whether Jianzong has that intention or not, from now on, everyone must have a correct attitude. And the more an ordinary disciple does this, the better the slap in the face will be. After today's incident, he had to reward Yoon 11 well. Old man Nian Bai had a trance. This girl has a quick mind and knows a lot of tricks. She is a good candidate to be the leader. The scene suddenly turned ugly, and the atmosphere dropped again and again. Hong Ling was already dumbfounded and didn't know which one to refute first. She was indeed impulsive. She tried to force him, but she just wanted Na Tao to answer honestly. There was no other purpose. How could she deliberately put pressure on Lu Rui? Moreover, her pressure was stopped as soon as she took action, and her father, who came through the message, told her to stop. It was clearly Natayo who was making a fuss out of a molehill and refused to give in. Pooh! There is blood hanging from the corner of the mouth, but the little mouth keeps mumbling. Does it look like it is injured? Hong Ling deeply suspected that the blood at the corner of Tao Ran's mouth was deliberately forced to overflow. Hong Ling, a small inner sect monk, in front of so many elders, is so eloquent that he is trying to provoke disputes among the section. This fairy only speaks for himself and has nothing to do with our sword section. Hong Ling never expected that her scolding would be interrupted by Tao Buran again. Since it has nothing to do with you, why do you use your identity to put pressure on my sect? Since you represent yourself personally, what qualifications do you have to interfere in our sect's internal affairs? Why do you ask our sect to punish me? If you can't stand me, you want to do it for Yan. If senior sister Yan wants to take revenge, you can invite me to the ring and we can have an open and fair fight. You dare? Tao Ran was eager to have a fight with her. In this golden elixir arena, she is not afraid of anyone. I'm afraid she won't dare. Hong Ling, who was aroused and furious over there, almost fell for the trick, but before she could open her mouth, her head father had already stood in front of her, and Chuanyan scolded her severely. For the sake of a man, you can't stop. It's so shameful for you to become an immortal and cultivate like this. What kind of arena are you fighting in? If he wins, Nascent Soul will use the golden elixir to defeat him. If you lose, it will be even more embarrassing and will only fuel the Qingyun sect's arrogance. Interesting. This idiot, why don't you look at it? Ever since Tao Boran took this matter in the general direction, everyone present wanted to stay away from Jian Zone. The various sects just agreed a few days ago that from now on only the Qingyun sect will follow suit. Now isn't this a split? If things get serious, who will side with their sword sect? Who would openly confront the Qingyun sect, which is currently the most powerful? Wouldn't he be isolated by then? How will the sword sect continue in the future? Look at that old man Bai again. I've known him for almost 2,000 years, and he never showed his expression. When did he show such displeasure that he couldn't even hide his expression like this? If this continues, even he may think that Jianzong is deliberately provoking. If you can't beat him and don't know how to restrain yourself, then you are stupid. Dad. Hong Ling felt a little aggrieved. Dad knows that you are complaining about Lu Yun, but see for yourself, is he grateful to you in any way? Liu Yun is not stupid. What a great opportunity Yun 11 got for him. He could just take advantage of this excuse and even break up with Hong Ling directly. From now on, he wouldn't even have to be acquainted with each other. So, when Hong Ling sent a message to him to explain, he refused directly. On the other side, Gun, the head of the sword sect, immediately corrected his attitude. Once again, in front of everyone present, he made it clear that the sword sect had no disrespectful attitude toward the Qingyun sect. Ji Yuanqi was much smarter than his daughter. He laughed and praised Tao Buran, saying that she was frank, intelligent, a true genius who excels in learning. The young people of the Qingyun sect are formidable, and they really have good successors. He said that his daughter had no ill intentions, but that she saw Fairy Yan Yan being injured and was upset. It was her daughter's fault for hurting Fairy Tao, and he and his daughter apologized to the fairy. Hongling reluctantly stepped forward, and Taoran sent a message to Lu Rui, asking him to quickly take the photo jade and keep the scene as a souvenir. Old man Gun took out a bottle of high-grade spirit-gathering pill and gave it to Taoran as compensation for hurting her. That's it? This all involves the face of their sect, so they just gave her a bottle of elixir and dismissed her? Is she worthless? Or is he picking? You're so polite, Master Sword Sect, Taoran said sarcastically. The old man understood what she meant and touched another string of spirit-gathering beads. This one is made up of 13 spiritual beads connected in series, which can speed up the operation of spiritual power. Over there, Nian Bai sent a message, telling him to accept it as soon as possible. Taoran reluctantly accepted it. What about my senior brother? Taoran did not forget Lu Rui. The old man's face twitched. Lu Rui is Nian Bai's apprentice, so naturally he can't be fooled by these. He originally wanted to compensate him privately. Otherwise, why is Tao so clueless? Do you have to bring everything to the table? Gun had no choice but to give the same 2 items to Lu Rui. He was afraid that Nian Bai would think that the mere gift to his apprentice was a slap in the face, so he had to dig out 2 more soul-gathering orbs and gave one to each of Taoran and Lu Rui. Pellets. In addition to feeling distressed, he was even more angry. Hongling was brought back to her original position and sat down. Nian Bai also sent a message to Taoran, go back and sit as soon as the limelight is enough. That won't work. Taoran knelt down directly in front of Nian Bai. She sent a message, I did injure Yan Yan. In order to prevent everyone from laughing and being suspected of being shielded by the sect, I should be punished. In order for the sect not to be organized, at least the posture must be improved. Taoran said loudly, otherwise, Lei Lingan was really overbearing. He couldn't control it because he was not capable enough. He accidentally injured senior sister Yan and caused such a scene. Otherwise, he was indeed wrong and should be punished. Fairy Hongling is right to complain to me. After all, there will be a sect competition soon. If I can't hold back then, the monks of the sword sect may be the ones who suffer. In order to prevent this from happening again, or if one person does something and everyone is responsible, I am willing to withdraw from the sect competition as a punishment. Yin. Taoran glanced at Hongling specifically, in order to calm the fairy's heart. As soon as these words came out, some people were surprised and some were angry. Everyone has seen Tao Buran's level. He should be in the top 3 among the juniors of the Qingyun section. Even in various competitions, he should be in the top 10. When you worked so hard in the arena before, weren't you striving for good results in the end, to stand out, and to strive for better training resources and reputation? This withdrawal is really a pity, it is too serious, not to. When Hongling and others heard these words, they wanted to laugh, but they felt that something was wrong. Why are these words so harsh? What's the meaning? Are you deliberately looking for trouble with her? Is it because he thinks he can't beat her and will suffer at her hands? Hongling wished she could get out of here without even being ranked. But then, why does it seem like Jianzhong was afraid of her and deliberately forced her to quit? How poisonous! Even if she is being punished, she still wants to drag Jianzhong into the water? It's so good to be a woman. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 420. At this moment, Tao Buran successfully replaced He Yongzi and became the person Hongling hated the most, and he wished he could rush up and strangle him to death right now. Hongling would not know that Taoran was transmitting a message to Nian Bai. Uncle, please keep me here quickly. You understand, I don't really want to withdraw from the competition. I will still be very useful in the subsequent competitions between various factions. Right. By taking such a big step back, she was making a gesture and expressing an attitude. Why should she retreat when she can fight? Isn't it to fight for a more reasonable position? You kid, you're talking nonsense. Nianbai puts the overall situation first and will protect his family without Taoran opening his mouth. Fairy Hongling is so frank, how can she be afraid of you? You did make a mistake in hurting Yan Yan. But since it was a mistake, it doesn't have to be serious enough to withdraw from the competition. Otherwise, everyone will be tied up later, and who will dare to show off? Showing your true ability, isn't it? Nianbai's words made sense, and were naturally echoed by most people. In this way, I will punish you and you will not be able to continue to participate in the sect competition of this section. Your ranking will be the 5th at the bottom of this round. What do you think? Otherwise I'm willing to be punished. What do you all think? Nianbai looked around at everyone with a smile. Everyone once again expressed that leader Nianbai's handling was reasonable and reasonable. At this time, who is going to meddle in other people's business? It is indeed the other sect's own business. What does it have to do with them? Jianzong, Jiyuan and Hongling were unwilling in their hearts, but could only express their approval on their faces. Otherwise, after being instigated like that, if they even showed the slightest intention of beating the drowned dog, they would go along with what Tao Oren said. The sword sect deliberately suppressed her because they were afraid of her. That would be really shameful. Tao Ran sent a message to thank the old man. This punishment is just right. If the sect doesn't handle it, it will definitely be arranged. If the sect wants to resign gently, there is no guarantee that it will cause complaints. But if she took the initiative to take a few steps back, most people would think it was a pity. When the time comes, if she takes a slight step forward, everyone will think it is reasonable. Human psychology is so weird. Thinking about the real world she lives in, there are many such things. The boss wanted to reduce expenses and deliberately released news that he would lay off employees. Everyone was panicked. In order to reduce the burden on the company, when HR proposed a slight salary reduction to solve the company's difficulties, not only did everyone have no objection, but they were also grateful to the company and felt that the boss was generous and kind. The same reason. On the other hand, 5th place was just right for Tao Ran. Not only is he guaranteed to be in the top 10, he also secures his place in the competition with other sects later, but he won't stand out too much, and he doesn't have to fight against senior brother Lu. This time, senior brother Lu is still the number 1 in the section. When Lu Rui gets the halo, all she has to do is take advantage of him. Tao Ran was still thinking about another thing. Tao Buran has such a high sect ranking this time. Can one of the secret realm quotas in more than 2 years be reserved for Tao Buran? Is it possible for her to go to the secret realm with 2 identities? On the other side, Hongling was sending a message to her senior brother, asking him to help find out all the information about Tao Buran. Today, because of Tao Buran, she and Jianzong had lost face. She almost became the most troublesome person here. She couldn't swallow this breath. The Qingyun sect competition is still going on. As Tao Ran expected, Lu Rui finally won the 1st place. The rest of the top 10, except for the 2 inner sect brothers, are almost all the beloved disciples of several uncles from major peaks. The Qingyun sect grand competition was announced to be over. Starting tomorrow, there will be a competition between young disciples from the 8 major sects. 10 people from each sect were selected, and the strongest was selected among the 80 people. The match list will be announced on the spot tomorrow. Reaching the top 10 will receive generous rewards from the 8 major faction alliances. The strongest person can get a full set of resources from the 8 major sects, from golden elixirs to gods, as well as an opportunity to enter and exit each sect's library. The so-called full set of resources is already there. There are 80,000 high-grade spiritual stones alone, a large box of talismans, 2 large boxes of elixirs, 2 formation discs, and several spiritual objects. Who can not be tempted? Nianbai just wanted to invite everyone into the palace for a banquet, but what was supposed to come came anyway. Someone pointed out that if Fairy Yan Yan was injured, wouldn't there be only 9 people from the Qingyun sect tomorrow? This is too unfair to Qingyun sect. Some people also pointed out that Tianjian Feng, the Liuyun transformation god of Qingyun sect, should also have a quota. Some people even said logically, how about giving up the spot to Elder Liuyun's eldest disciple He Yongzi or his second disciple Ren Ping? There was an immediate response to these proposals. Tao Ran glanced at these people. Most of them were monks from Juxiao sect and Yintian Pavilion, which were at the bottom of the 8 great sections, and Yun 11, who had memories of the plot, knew that these 2 families had been secretly supporting Jianzong. Therefore, this is most likely Hungling's trick again. When Yun 11 appears, she will definitely take advantage of Yun 11's injured soul to deal with him with all her strength. When Ren Ping appeared, Ren Ping owed her a favor. Ren Ping was the person Tao Ran was keeping an eye on, and Tao Ran naturally knew that Hongling had secretly visited him a few days ago. Lu Yun had always protected Yun 11, and immediately spoke, Yun 11 is staying in a small solitary confinement, I'm afraid it's inconvenient. Didn't Fairy Yun 11 do well during the big banquet a few days ago? After the banquet, I felt something in my heart and had a breakthrough, so I went to retreat. Lu Yun glanced at the talkative man and gave him a look. For a time, no one dared to mention Yun 11. An elder of Juxiao sect stood up, stepped forward in a polite manner, and made a request. He said that in the early years when Liu Yun's second disciple Ren Ping and his son went out for training, they encountered a 6th-order blue flame leopard. Thanks to Ren Ping, his son escaped the disaster. So Ren Ping can be regarded as his son's savior. He knew that Ren Ping was a very capable and responsible monk. He heard that he was being grounded, and he had his son to ask for his help. Firstly, he did not want Ren Ping to miss the opportunity for this competition between the various factions. Secondly, the secret realm of the golden elixir was about to be opened. Talents like Ren Ping should not be buried. Thirdly, he wanted to fulfill his son's desire to repay his kindness and also hoped to return Ren Ping's favor, so he begged Elder Liu Yun and Qingyun sect to lift Ren Ping's ban for the sake of Juxiao section. Of course, as compensation, he is willing to give 3 of his treasured thunder fruits to Lu Yun. Tao Ran and Lu Yun, who were originally smiling slightly, wanted to see if the other party could tell the truth, but when they heard about Zhen Leguo, their eyes lit up at the same time. The thunder fruit can be encountered but cannot be sought. It takes 100 years to bloom and bear fruit, but each tree can only bear 3 fruits. And the place where this tree grows is very selective. It is either a forbidden area or a place where thunder is coming from the sky. For example, there are 2 thunder fruit trees growing in the Juya forbidden land of Juxiao sect and the Thunder River of Jianzong. All the monks want this thing. When there is a thunderstorm that is difficult to resist, taking one can relieve the damage caused by the thunder to the greatest extent. For the Liligan monk, this effect is not only doubled, but also a better tonic. Due to the scarcity of the quantity, even if Juxiao sect and Sword sect produce enough, they will not be able to distribute enough. Normally, thunder fruit rarely comes out, and can only be seen occasionally on the black market or auction market. So this is a wonderful gift. Even if Lu Yun doesn't need it himself, he can still give it to his apprentice Yun 11. Master, how about you agree? Tao Ran couldn't wait to send a message to Lu Yun. Even if Hongling can help Ren Ping come out, will he be able to soar into the sky? Innocent. It takes 100 years for a tree to produce only 3 fruits. It is rare for Ren Ping to have such value. There is no shop like this after passing this village.